When the clock strikes 3, do whispers in the dark call out to you? Welcome to Shady's Night Terrors, where every night we delve into stories that stalk the dark corners of your mind. Join us as we explore chilling tales that make the bravest hearts quiver and the boldest eyes shut tight. Don't just listen, experience the spine-tingling, the eerie, the downright terrifying. Dare to be our guest tonight? Whisper. Then let the nightmares begin. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more nightmarish tales.
The Midnight Haul. Jack Reynolds had been a truck driver for over 20 years. He'd seen his fair share of oddities on the road, but nothing quite like this. The call had come late in the afternoon, a mysterious job from a faceless company offering triple his usual rate. No questions asked. The only stipulation was that he had to haul the load alone through a desolate stretch of country road and deliver it to a location that wasn't even on the map. He arrived at the pickup point as instructed. The trailer was already sealed, the paperwork minimal, just a series of vague instructions and a promise of payment upon delivery. Jack didn't know what he was hauling, but the money was too good to pass up. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Jack set out. The road was narrow and wound through dense forests, a blanket of darkness enveloping his truck. The only light came from his headlights and the occasional flicker of the moon through the trees. It was the kind of night where the shadows seemed to move just out of the corner of your eye. A couple of hours into the drive, Jack noticed a car behind him. Its high beams were blinding, making it difficult for him to see. He muttered a curse under his breath, trying to focus on the road. The lights stayed on him for what felt like an eternity, then suddenly went out. Jack glanced in his mirrors, relieved to see nothing but darkness. But just as he was starting to relax, the high beams flared back on, closer this time. His pulse quickened. What the hell was going on? This pattern continued for miles. The lights would vanish, only to reappear suddenly, unsettlingly closer each time. His mind raced with possibilities, none of them good. Was someone messing with him? Or was it something worse? After another stretch of darkness, Jack spotted a rest area and decided to pull over. He needed a moment to collect himself and use the bathroom. As he stepped out of the truck, the silence was deafening. He hurried to the restroom, his unease growing with every step. When he returned, his blood ran cold. One of the trailer doors was slightly ajar, and the seal had been broken. With shaking hands, Jack swung the door open the rest of the way. Inside were several large machines, unlike anything he had ever seen. They emitted a soft, otherworldly glow and pulsed with vibrations that seemed to resonate deep within his bones. He had no idea what they were or what they did, but their alien appearance filled him with dread. He quickly closed the door and resealed it, his mind racing. He tried to call dispatch and the police, but his phone showed no signal. Alone in the darkness, he had no choice but to keep moving. As he climbed back into the cab, he saw the car again. Its high beams were off now, but it was still there, lurking in the shadows. Jack gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white. He had to get to his destination, whatever the cost. The road ahead seemed endless, each mile stretching into infinity. The car's lights disappeared and reappeared, always closer, always more menacing. Jack's fear turned to resolve. He had to know what he was hauling and why this car was so intent on stopping him. Finally, the GPS signaled his destination was near. Jack turned onto a narrow dirt road that wound deeper into the forest. The car was right behind him now, its high beams off, but its presence unmistakable. The trees closed in, and the road grew rougher. The destination was a clearing in the middle of nowhere, lit by harsh floodlights. Men in black suits and sunglasses waited, their expressions unreadable. Jack brought the truck to a stop and climbed out, his heart pounding. One of the men approached, holding a device that emitted a soft hum. "Mr. Reynolds, thank you for your service. We'll take it from here." Jack watched as the men opened the trailer and carefully unloaded the strange machines. He couldn't help but ask, "What is all this?" The man paused, then looked at Jack with cold, emotionless eyes. "Classified government technology, beyond your clearance level." Before Jack could respond, the car that had been following him pulled into the clearing. A woman stepped out, her face stern and lined with authority. She walked over to the man in the suit and whispered something in his ear. The man turned back to Jack. "You've seen too much. I'm afraid you can't leave." Panic surged through him. "What do you mean? I did what you asked." The woman approached, her expression softening slightly. "We're sorry, Mr. Reynolds. This technology, it's not from here. It's imperative that it remains a secret." As the men in suits closed in, Jack's mind raced. Alien technology? Secrets? None of it mattered now. All he knew was that his life would never be the same. The last thing Jack saw before the darkness claimed him was the eerie glow of the machines, pulsing with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. The sounds of the city, the feel of the road, and the comfort of routine faded into nothingness as he was swallowed by the secrets he had unknowingly carried. And somewhere in the forest, the car's high beams flickered one last time before disappearing into the night, leaving no trace of the horrors that had transpired on that lonely country road. The Stowaway. The Jackson family was buzzing with excitement as they packed up for their much-anticipated beach vacation. The kids, Lily and Max, were bouncing around the house, chattering about building sandcastles and swimming in the ocean. Sarah, their mother, meticulously packed their suitcases, while Tom, their father, loaded everything into the car's trunk. It was shaping up to be the perfect getaway. Unbeknownst to them, a pair of cold, calculating eyes watched from the shadows. The man, thin and gaunt, had contorted himself into a small space between the luggage, hidden beneath layers of bags. He had slipped into their car unnoticed while they were busy packing, his twisted mind savoring the thought of the ride ahead. As the Jacksons embarked on their road trip, the man remained hidden, silently unzipping suitcases and rummaging through their belongings. He fingered through Sarah's neatly folded clothes, carefully inspected Tom's gadgets, and toyed with Lily's favorite teddy bear, leaving behind only subtle disturbances that went unnoticed in the family's excitement. Hours later, the family finally arrived at their beachfront hotel, tired but eager to begin their vacation. Sarah went inside to check out the room while Tom unloaded the trunk. As he pulled out the suitcases, he noticed that the bags were unzipped and their contents were in disarray. "Must have been Sarah," he muttered to himself, assuming she had searched for something during one of their stops. He quickly repacked the bags, not wanting to delay their fun. With everything loaded onto the luggage carrier, they made their way to their room, oblivious to the eyes watching them from the darkness of the trunk. The man waited patiently, biding his time. The family settled into their hotel room, eager to hit the beach. They donned their swimsuits and dashed out the door, laughter trailing behind them. They spent the day basking in the sun, swimming in the ocean, and building sandcastles. It was a perfect day, filled with joy and relaxation. As the sun began to set, the Jacksons returned to their room, exhausted but happy. They showered, changed into their pajamas, and settled in for a night of family games and snacks. Little did they know, their uninvited guest was lurking, waiting for his moment. In the dead of night, the stranger emerged from the shadows. He moved silently, his gaunt frame slipping through the room like a wraith. He watched the family sleep, his eyes glinting with malevolence. His presence was an oppressive weight in the room, an unseen menace lurking just beyond the edge of dreams. Lily stirred in her sleep, sensing something wrong. She opened her eyes and saw a dark figure standing over her. Before she could scream, the man clamped a hand over her mouth, his eyes boring into hers with a chilling intensity. "Shh," he whispered, a cruel smile twisting his lips. Tom awoke to the sound of movement and saw the figure looming over his daughter. He leaped out of bed, shouting, "Get away from her!" The room erupted in chaos as Sarah woke up, her scream piercing the silence. The stranger moved with inhuman speed, lunging at Tom with a glinting knife. Tom dodged, grabbing a lamp and swinging it at the intruder. The man ducked and slashed at Tom, the blade slicing through his shirt. Sarah grabbed the phone to call for help, but the stranger knocked it out of her hand. Desperation fueled Tom's strength as he fought to protect his family. He tackled the stranger, wrestling the knife away and pinning him to the ground. "Sarah, get the kids out of here," he yelled. Sarah scooped up Lily and Max, rushing them out of the room. She banged on the neighboring doors, screaming for help. The hotel staff and other guests quickly responded, and within moments, security arrived and subdued the intruder. The police were called, and the man was taken away in handcuffs, his eyes still locked onto the Jackson family with a promise of future terror. The family, shaken but unharmed, was moved to a new room. They spent the rest of the night huddled together, the reality of their brush with danger sinking in. The next morning, as the sun rose over the tranquil beach, the Jacksons tried to reclaim the joy of their vacation. But the memory of the night lingered, a dark shadow over their sunny retreat. They knew they would never forget the terror of discovering the stowaway in their midst, and the chilling reminder that sometimes the greatest dangers come not from the outside, but from the shadows that slip unnoticed into the heart of our lives.